Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
This is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where we come back and get everything we want while everybody else just gets completely screwed over, because this week we watched Stolen Earth and Journey's End.
Written by Russell T. Davies.
Directed by Graham Harper.
And aired on June 20th and July 5th, 2008.
Yeah, so the finale for season 4, the culmination of this whole plot line about the bees disappearing.
The culmination, really, of everything since Rose, actually.
Yeah, it really is Journey's End.
It really was the greatest hits of Russell T.
I mean, I told you it was going to be the greatest hits of Russell T.
The only thing they didn't bring back was Russell T's greatest hit of all, which is using the sonic screwdriver every 5 seconds. Luckily, it wasn't in this.
Well, barely. Right at the end.
Yeah.
And Sarah Jane, spoilers, is in this, has a sonic lipstick, which she uses once. So.
Yeah, this was also a big, commercial for Torchwood.
I mean, it was also a commercial for the Sarah Jane adventure, so it was kind of bringing them all together in some sort of Avengers-style team-up, quite frankly. And I mean, that's pretty much exactly what this is. This is Avengers Infinity War.
Infinity War is the most ambitious crossover event in history, whatever that meme was.
I mean, there's even a part in this where the Daleks just make people fade away exactly like Thanos does in Infinity War, so I mean...
Wow, spoiler. No, I don't care. There's one thing I don't care about, it's...
Spoiling
superhero.
Everything. Danny Ocean is dead.
Dang it. Why even watch Ocean's 8 now?
The story begins with the Doctor and Donna landing on Earth, and the Doctor's like all panicked because he's like, something's going to happen. What's happening? Okay, everything's fine. We're fine. Earth is fine. Nothing is attacking Earth. We're just going to go back into the TARDIS and do some scans. Just everything is completely fine.
But when they come back out, the Earth is just gone.
Yeah, well, so there's this rumbling, and there's a milkman, and he starts watching his milk cartons rumble around, and he's like, uh-oh. And then, boom, Earth's gone. The Doctor opens the TARDIS door, and he's like, what the hell? And Donna's like, oh, shoot. Except they're a lot more, distraught about it, because the Earth has, literally disappeared in front of their eyes. Donna thinks the Earth's just been, blown up. And the Doctor's like, nah, probably not. And then we get the title sequence, and then we basically don't see the Doctor for the next 10 minutes because we have to introduce this Avengers-style team-up and all the characters who are going to be integral to this. So basically...
Yeah, the title sequence also has all the people's names in it, so it goes by a lot. The names go by a lot quicker.
Yeah, because I think they put 6 names in the intro sequence, because I think they have David Tennant and Catherine Tate, as they always have for this whole season. But then they have Billie Piper, Freema, I still don't know how to pronounce her last name, who plays Martha, Elizabeth Sladen, and
Richard Dawkins.
John Barrowman in the intro sequence.
Right. And Billie Piper gets the same sort of billing as Elizabeth Sladen, which is questionable. Well, because their last, it says, and also featuring or whatever, Elizabeth Sladen and Billie Piper as Rose.
Yeah.
Just interesting choice there.
I mean, it's all contractual stuff, really.
Yeah.
Sometimes you watch a movie and it'll be like, featuring blah as blah, and introducing blank as blank. Or sometimes they won't say as, and they'll mix up things in the movie. They'll be like, featuring blank, and blank as blank too. It's just be consistent, damn it.
Well, I remember in the classic series, it was always the Doctor first, in the end credits. Mm-hmm. It was always the Doctor first, and then it was order of appearance, so the companions weren't always right after the Doctor in the classic show.
Right.
Here in the new series, they are.
They always do the Doctor and the companions, and then they go into the characters in the story, which I think is better.
Yeah, and I honestly haven't paid attention enough to know whether they go order of appearance in the new show. The credits are also a lot quicker, so it's harder to see.
Well, yeah, because they're trying to zoom through them in a much smaller time period.
Yeah. Anyway, we see Martha in New York. She's at Unit HQ in New York.
Yeah, she apparently got a promotion.
And she's working on Project Indigo.
Yeah, this mysterious...
And didn't she name drop Project Indigo in the Sontaran Stratagem and Poison Sky? Or am I just making that up?
I think you might be making that up because Project Indigo is tech salvaged from the Sontarans in that episode, so...
Yeah, that's probably true. So, I mean, yeah, what you said is true, and the fact that I was making it up is also probably true.
Yeah, we
We get
actually meet them all right before the title sequence because they all like panic that the sky has gone dark.
Yeah, they all look like up to the sky, and you don't really see what it is, but
Well,
then you see like it's there's planets in like a close proximity to
the
Earth.
stinger right before the title credits is that there's like other planets in the sky, and then after the credits we
Which
like
is a
find out what
normal
everybody's
thing.
doing.
You can see Venus and Mars like with your naked eye.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like it's gonna crash into you if you move.
Yeah, no, I know. We get sort of like news reel type thing, not newsreel, but just a bunch of news broadcasts of the widespread panic and whatever. We get Richard Dawkins.
Yeah, Richard
Wasn't
Dawkins as
Richard
himself.
Dawkins married to
Lala
Lala
Ward.
Ward?
Yeah. Apparently they're gonna get some other
You really
guy.
can't. You really can't ever check out. You can check out anytime you want, but you can whatever. I completely butchered that, but you can't leave Doctor Who. You're
Nailed it. Well, apparently they were going to get someone else, and then someone suggested to Russell T, like, hey, we can get Richard Dawkins. It'd be kind of cool. And Russell T's like, yeah, good point. So they got Richard Dawkins, which is kind of weird because Richard Dawkins is not like an astronomer. So he's on this talk show talking about like planets in the sky. And he's like, the stars have moved. Earth has moved locations in the sky because the stars are in different places. You have to pay attention. And I'm like, Richard Dawkins isn't an astronomer, though. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, what even isn't he just like an outspoken atheist? Isn't that like his claim to
I
fame?
think he's also like a biologist, I think. Or an evolutionaryist.
Evolutionary
Evolutionist.
biologist.
Yeah, something like that. Not an astronomer, though, which is why I was like, what gives him the authority to talk on this right now? I guess this talk show is giving him the authority to do this. So Jack is with Torchwood 3. This is the first time we see Torchwood 3 in Doctor Who, and The Lost, so save it while you can.
And yeah, there are two sort of characters here whose names I don't remember.
Ianto and Gwen Cooper.
Right, and I'm guessing they're
They're
characters from
Torchwood
the actual
characters.
show.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I haven't watched any Torchwood, but I thought this trio was interesting enough to watch a show about them.
Yeah. No, I've watched the first episode of Torchwood. It's pretty fun in the aspect that there's a lot of good chemistry between the main characters, I think.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of chemistry in these three right here, so.
Yeah.
Torchwood kind of looks really jank, kind of like the TARDIS. It looks like it was assembled from broken and spare parts that they just kind of found.
Well, it is the recreated Torchwood that probably has a lot, a hugely reduced budget now that they're not producing like WMDs. It's a weird thing that you find when you're not like creating weapons. Your budget gets reduced.
What a colorful commentary on modern day America. Well, they're like running or protecting or guarding the time rift that's in Cardiff, which we saw in The Unquiet Dead and in Boomtown. The like temporal rift.
Boomtown, that unforgettable story.
Hey, it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
And then we see Wilf and Sylvia. They go outside and they're like trying to run away because the Daleks start rounding everybody up to take them up to
right. The Dalek.
planet.
This is the Daleks doing. They don't really try and have that be a reveal or anything. Nothing.
Well, there's like a
needed to
minor
be.
reveal because there's spaceships approaching Earth, and Martha's like, we got spaceships inbound, and then they're like, there's a communication coming in.
Right.
Martha's like, put it on screen, and then it's just exterminate. Exterminate!
Sarah Jane, because we also get a little scene with Sarah Jane and her son, I guess,
Yeah, Luke.
and their
Smith, I guess.
and their computer,
Mr.
Smith, oddly named. There's sort of an absent father in this situation. The
No, the
computer's
father's the
named
computer.
Mr. Smith. So,
Father's the computer.
well, I mean, I haven't watched any of the Sarah Jane Adventures
Neither
series.
have I. But I was reading in the notes for this story that like that fanfare that plays when Mr. Smith comes out like plays in every episode, but the characters like never acknowledge that they could hear it until this story where Sarah Jane's like, do you have to play that fanfare every time you come out of the wall? Which retroactively acknowledges that the fanfare is played within the show and not just as a sound effect for the audience.
Yeah, it's a diegetic sound, which is interesting, I guess.
I thought it was kind of a funny joke, to be honest.
Sarah Jane freaks out the most at the knowledge that this is the Daleks,
Yeah,
Which makes
because
sense because her, I think, only run-in with the Daleks was the freaking genesis of the Daleks, their scariest attempt at domination ever.
was that the only time Sarah Jane encountered the
I think
Daleks?
so, yeah. And that was also a Harry Sullivan story.
Harry Sullivan didn't do anything in that story. Genesis is they're showing Genesis of the Daleks on the movie screen, like I think like a couple weeks from now.
Here or
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, in America.
What?
They like edited it together into one long feature long thing, and they're
like,
showing it.
Here in America, as in like here
Yeah.
in Southern California.
Yeah, all over America actually.
Wow,
Yeah,
interesting. I wonder where the Twitch stream is at right now. I know they were freaking out that the TARDIS was blue, like when they got to color. There's like hundreds of people
really
like,
funny.
wait, the TARDIS is blue?
it's really funny to me.
Yeah, it is. It's okay, it gets painted red in
It gets painted pink.
or pink. What I thought it was, I always saw it as red in
Pink in Paradise Happiness Patrol.
yeah,
Sorry.
Happiness Patrol.
Yeah, wait till they get there. Wait till they find out the TARDIS is bigger on the inside. Oh.
And I think
Anyway,
I found that out in the first episode.
yeah. Yeah, when they go from the junkyard into the TARDIS. Still one of the best scenes of early Doctor Who.
Yeah, it is just. I want to, check out the comment feed or whatever when Adric starts being a regular part of the show.
I want to see the comment feed when Adric dies.
Anyway, people are freaking out. Daleks are, coming down in their spaceships, killing people.
Daleks are rounding everyone
people
up, and like I was saying, Sylvia and Wilf go outside, and Wilf shoots one of the Daleks in the eye with his paintball gun, which would have worked a season ago, but these new Daleks apparently can just heat up their eye stalk and evaporate the paint right off their face.
Or they just run really hot, maybe they didn't install, the proper cooling equipment.
They didn't comply with OSHA regulations for proper mandated cooling. And
So-
then that Dalek gets blown up by Rose Tyler, and she's like, I'm Rose Tyler, and you're Donna's parents, and I need you.
And then her saying her name creates a giant discrepancy
Rift in space and time,
No.
tears everything apart, and they all die.
No, but it was kind of odd how she was not as hesitant to say her name here as she was before. But maybe because this is like the universe she's from. So
Yeah. The Doctor and Donna,
I was
meanwhile,
actually really confused about which universe they were in at the end and stuff. But whatever.
everyone went to the main one except for Rose and Jackie.
Yeah, that's what I got at the end of this. But I was like, wait, what's going on here? But we'll get there eventually.
So the Doctor and Donna go to the Shadow Proclamation for help because the Doctor points out that Earth didn't blow up, Earth moved because the TARDIS didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But they can't find it.
Which
so
is
they need
weird
help.
because the TARDIS was on Earth and everything that was on Earth got taken with Earth except the TARDIS, which is all right, whatever.
Maybe because the TARDIS is a spaceship from a galaxy with a time machine. I don't know, but it's a good point.
No, it doesn't really matter in the long run, though.
No, I didn't really even think about it when I was watching the story. I was just like, well, makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So they go to the Shadow Proclamation and get confronted by some Jadoon.
Yeah, the Doctor says the Shadow Proclamation is, just the police, which, are the Jadoon.
Well, I guess the Jadoon work for the Shadow Proclamation is what I got out of it.
Yeah, which, just that name itself is interesting because, you think of Shadow Proclamation like it's some sort of law or...
Well, because every time the Doctor's referred to it before, he's referred to it like it's a law. He's like, oh, Section 14 of the Shadow Proclamation, or...
yeah, and also just the word proclamation.
Yeah.
You don't think it's a group. Still don't understand how they're like actually using that word to refer to like this law enforcement agency, but
maybe it's like...
Maybe it's just confusing for the sake of it. Or the Shadow Proclamation.
Maybe they're like guarding the laws set out in the Shadow Proclamation.
Sure. Yeah.
It's kind of like how Star Trek has a secret intelligence agency named Section 31 after like Section 31 of the Starfleet Charter, which says that in certain situations we can do whatever the hell we want. So they founded a super secret spy agency called Section 31 that just does whatever they want.
I'm sure that doesn't go wrong.
Oh, it absolutely does. Like every time they show up.
Yeah, no, that's what I meant. So they're confronted by, at least one Jadoon and like 5 more with their helmets on.
Yeah. 5 more dudes with Jadoon helmets on.
And another alien species
Who I don't get
think,
the name.
Yeah, I don't think is named.
I don't think
Looks
they're
cool though,
named.
I
They've got like
guess.
red eyes and they're like really, really pale.
Yeah, they look albino, I guess, because of
Yeah.
the red eyes and paleness.
Yeah, exactly, actually. White hair, too.
Maybe it was just an albino human.
Yeah, maybe.
No, no.
The doctor speaks Jadoon to the Jadoon. Apparently, he can speak Jadoon.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's interesting, I
I mean,
guess.
yeah, it's how they aren't just like gunned down right away.
Right.
They sort of explain the situation or take note of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
They count up the planets that the Daleks have teleported to wherever it was that they
Well,
teleported
so
them
the
to.
lady
It was
says
the
that
Medusa
20.
Cascade,
Yeah, the Medusa
but
Cascade.
it was like out of time because they went to the real regular Medusa Cascade and nothing was there, and they're like,
Yeah,
wait,
but
it's like 1 second out of time.
first, the lady's like 24 planets have gone missing. But then Donna points out that the lady at the start of the season in Partners in Crime had said that like the Adipose planet, Adipose 3, had been lost. The doctor's like, that's a good point. And then the doctor adds like a lost moon of something. And also apparently Clom is gone. I just wanted to bring that up because the doctor was like, who wants Clom?
Yeah, well, I mean, but was Clom something we?
Clom, we've heard about Clom before because, someone came from Clom this season, but I don't remember who now.
Huh. Yeah, I obviously don't remember. But this is how they put it all together. This is when the doctor, and I guess Donna, because she's the one who points it out, realizes that planets have been disappearing. And I think, just looking back on the overarching arcs for each season, this probably works the best out of all of them.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I
because
think
it's like
at
really
least.
subtle a lot, and especially now they also bring in the bees disappearing because the doctor's like, has anything weird been happening? And Donna's like, well, the bees have been disappearing. And the doctor's like, oh, that's right, we can just follow the bees to where
Right.
we can just follow the bees because the bees went home because they knew the Earth was going to disappear.
Yeah, and
And Donna's like, do you mean the bees are aliens? And the doctor's like, no, of course not, just some of them.
yeah, the Vespa form in this was, I guess, maybe sort of a hint towards that. But I don't know. I think this works better than
Well,
it works better than Torchwood. I think
pretty much
work-
anything worked better than Torchwood.
works better. I think than Bad Wolf, even just because of the nature of what Bad Wolf is, where it's like it was interspersed in like every story. It was like this phrase that was haunting them, and then you find out like why, and it's because like it was designed to do that.
Yeah, it's almost meta in that aspect. Is like we designed Bad Wolf to appear in every story, so the Bad Wolf must appear in every story.
Yeah.
But I think also that this one, like in some places, was like too subtle almost because it starts off like, oh yeah, Adipose 3 has been lost. You're like, okay, that's just whatever. And then like, all the other stuff they reference about, there's another planet that Donna brings up also disappeared like 1,000 years ago. And then Clom, which was also mentioned this season, I just don't remember by who. But Clom is like the twin planet to like Raxicalifactorius or whatever.
Huh.
Yeah, because the Absorbaloff comes from
right.
Clom. That's what it was.
That's what it was. The Absorbaloff was from Clom.
That was 2 seasons ago.
Yeah,
Series 2.
Love and Monsters.
Love and Monsters. So
Also written by Russell T. Really odd that Russell T gave us that and like something as good as this story.
yeah,
I know
well,
everyone has their duds. Everyone has their duds.
yeah, exactly.
And we'll talk about Russell T's run at the end of this, even though there's still a little more to go with him.
4 more stories.
We'll still talk about it here, though, because this was just, like we said before, the greatest hits of Russell T.
I mean, his finale as showrunner is also like other greatest hits of. It's like greatest hits of Russell T. Volume 2.
Great. Well, what was the greatest hits of Stephen Moffat? We've already got that. It was like 10 years prior to this. It was, what was it? The Curse of Fatal Death. Yeah, it was Curse of Fatal Death.
That was greatest hits of Stephen Moffat.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I mean, I was just lurking this Blake 7 forum recently and was reading their Doctor Who thread, and what a lot of people were complaining about in that thread, and surprisingly most of the people on the site didn't like modern Doctor Who, and what a lot of people were pointing out was that a lot of what happened in that parody, right, is stuff that went on to like be in the actual show, like done seriously.
I mean, probably because Stephen Moffat took over the show.
Yeah.
So
And they're like, the show has become a parody of itself. Well, this stuff that was just done as a parody is now like actually being done and presented to you as something that's, supposed to be good.
I mean,
And
a lot
they
of people
had
say
a
that, but
problem
I
with
don't
that.
buy that argument. That it's a parody of itself.
I'll have to see. what occurs in the Stephen Moffat run.
Mm.
I'm not going to make any comment about it yet.
Yeah, neither will I, because there's not really a dialogue that can go on about it without you knowing anything about it, right? So
Anyway, Donna gets confronted by one of the people,
yeah, and they mentioned that she's got something on her back.
and that she says she's sorry for Donna's loss, and she's like, "Yeah, whole planet got teleported." And she's like, "No, the one that's yet to come."
You're like,
It's
what?
like, what the?
What? I think at this point we get hints that Davros is controlling the Daleks.
Well, we see his metal hand.
We see his metal hand, and we see him in the shadows.
We hear his voice. It's distinctly Davros's voice. I don't know who plays him in this story, but it's it's definitely Davros. You can tell right away.
Yeah, it's Julian Bleach.
Okay, I mean, he does a good job.
Yeah, he does.
Donna, there's also this thing where Donna, when she's the one who prompts the discovery of what's going on with the planets being stolen, she's like, "Yeah, humans are just as important as Time Lords are." And I was like, "Yeah, that's the thing that this show has been, I think, trying to do, right? With the Doctor being like, you're just regular people, you're great, and something I could never be." But like, pretty much everything else in the show indicates that Time Lords are way more important than anyone else, even in this episode too.
Well, because Time Lords are like the most powerful race in the universe, except for, I guess, the Daleks.
Right, which is why I don't buy the like humans are greater than Time Lords. I could never be a regular human type thing.
I don't know. I guess it's supposed to be like humans are cool because
of their ingenuity or something like that. I don't know. It was like this collective human bravado, especially with the Harriet Jones stuff too. It was like, would never understand what a real human is.
I don't know. They're trying to do the thing that Star Trek Enterprise did way better. It's just like Star Trek Enterprise does a really good job of showing the differences between like all the different species and what makes humans unique, because it's like their first foray into space and they're like trying to figure out what they're doing. But it does a really good job of showing like Andorians are like really aggressive about everything, and Tellarites like to argue about everything and never settle for any sort of compromise, and Vulcans like always strictly logical. And then it's like humans are like, well, what are we? And then they're like, oh, we always go back for each other. We always stick together, right? So
yeah, all right. I mean, I haven't watched any Star Trek, obviously, but I that's like one thing I always hear about Star Trek as a criticism of it, is that the alien races in the show are just kind of jankily painted humans sometimes, and like they're just this homogenized thing. If that makes sense. Again, like I haven't watched it, so I don't even really know what this argument is really all about. But like the aliens in the show are just like, one race is just this one way and that's it.
Well, I mean, I think over time they get further away from that, but definitely at the start, like original series and most of Next Generation to an extent, it's like that. Because
Doctor Who does that too, actually.
Yeah, because
at least early on.
It's like, it's really difficult to make aliens alien.
It was really difficult to make like a fleshed out alien that is
also
vastly
unique.
Different. That's and
they get better at it as it goes on. Like Enterprise is the most recent Star Trek series until Discovery, and I think by that point they really had it down. They were like, oh, we can do a really good job of like making these characters distinct, but still making them obviously part of their species by like giving them this distinguishing trait that's like common among their species, but then also giving them their own personalities. So
yeah,
I mean, they like did an episode where, because like the Klingons, like, they're a warrior race, but they did an episode where there's like a Klingon doctor, and he's like, yeah, I mean, everybody talks about dying with honor, and I'm just trying to save people. I'm like just trying to make sure that we all survive for the next couple of years. Like, I don't buy any of that killing people, dying with honor stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
So,
I guess. Anyway, there's a Daleks master plan reference. I think the Doctor says that the Daleks have tried moving planets before.
Yeah, I think so.
A long time ago. And yeah, it really was a long time ago.
Well, the Doctor doesn't know it's the Daleks yet. So the Doctor hasn't found Earth yet, because first we have to get the subwave network, which Harriet Jones initializes. And it contacts, apparently, all these people who knew the Doctor. So it contacts Jack, Martha, and Sarah Jane. And it also contacts Rose on Donna's computer. But Wilf doesn't have a webcam.
Sylvia wouldn't let Wilf get a webcam.
Because apparently they're naughty. So Rose just has to watch while they talk.
Yeah.
Harriet Jones is the real hero of the story, if we're going to be honest. Like, the Doctor wouldn't have been there to save Earth if it wasn't for Harriet Jones.
Yeah, I guess. Well, we skipped over the part also where Martha gets teleported back home by Project
Well,
Indigo.
because the Daleks attack Unit HQ. Well, not Unit HQ, but Unit in New York. And the general's just like, you need to take.
Unor. Okay, I don't know what that was.
The general's like, you need to take Project Indigo and leave. And she's like, what? And he's
Also,
like, oh, take this Osterhagen key. And she's like, what? No, I can't take that. And he's like, you have to. The Daleks are coming. And then Jack is on the phone with Martha at the time. He's like, look, you can't use Project Indigo. It's not safe. No, don't do it, Martha. And also, what's the Osterhagen key? You know, if you want to tell me about that, just let me know.
But she does use Project Indigo, and she says it like psychically tapped into her mind and brought her to where she wanted to go, which was home.
Well, because Jack thinks she's dead because Jack says it's salvage teleport from the Sontarans, but they didn't have any sort of transport buffer and they didn't have a way to set coordinates, so it was like completely random and she just got dispersed into atoms without getting plopped down anywhere. Or at least so Jack thinks.
But I guess he's wrong. And this is sort of like, I don't know, I felt Martha got the short end of the stick even in this story, which was a shame.
Because even Mickey coming back, he's awesome.
Yeah, Mickey is awesome as always, but like Martha really does kind of get screwed over in the long run because the way they resolve her deal with her mom is like she goes back home and then it's done in like such a lame way where her mom just like looks at her and she's like, in the heat of battle,
at
the end of the world, you came back home. And I was like,
wow, okay,
all
don't have to
right.
rub it in.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt they could have resolved this in a better way, but I get it, pressed for time or whatever. And Martha wasn't exactly the most liked
companion.
Well, unique companion. I mean, like I mentioned, like during her run, she got screwed over by the scripts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
screwed over my Rose.
And both of those things hold true in this episode too, which is a real shame.
Mm-hmm.
But oh well.
I mean, yeah, we're going to get to that when she meets
awesome
Rose.
Than Rose in this too. She basically meets Rose Rose sees
later.
her as they're talking via webcam with Harriet Jones.
Yeah, Rose gets really fucking entitled and pouty because she sees Martha.
Okay, first of all, Rose is sort of ticked off because everyone else is not privy. Everyone else has two-way communication with with Harriet Jones.
Former Prime Minister. She still introduces
Harriet
herself
Jones
like that.
and Martha Jones. There's Mickey Smith and Sarah Jane Smith. And there's Jack and Jackie.
Well, they even make a reference to the Smith one when Mickey shows up. It's like, us Smiths got to stick together.
Yeah. But Rose is not okay with, not having the same level of communication.
Yeah, because Rose just sounds like Rose is just here to find the doctor, if I'm going to be honest, because she comes and she's like, man, Donna was my last hope to find the doctor. Now I'm never going to find him. She's like being a real brat about it. Like, geez. But yeah, now she's like really like entitled and pissed off because like Martha's like, yeah, I traveled with the doctor, and Rose is like, what? Who are you? I traveled with the doctor too.
First.
No, you weren't. You already know that. Rose. Sarah Jane was way before you, and she wasn't even the first.
Yeah, what's that picture that we always mention where it's like a line of...
Oh, it's a line of like all the
companions.
Yeah. And then at the very end, it's Rose, and she's like, I thought I was special.
But Harriet Jones sort of reveals what's going on. She set up this communication system that's...
The subway network.
It can contact anyone who can help find the doctor, and it's undetectable by anyone.
Well, it's undetectable until they
start streaming it to
space.
And Harriet Jones is like, don't worry, we're going to do that, but I'm prepared to mask you guys' signals with my signal so that the Daleks will only go after me and you guys can, not round up the doctor, but find the doctor. Because the doctor and Donna at this point have run away to the Medusa Cascade.
They're like, they don't know what's going on.
The Shadow Proclamation tries to get them to join their war efforts against the Daleks, basically.
They're like, we're at war with the Daleks now, and you're going to lead us into war, Doctor. And the Doctor's like, oh, right, let me just get a key. And he closes the door and leaves.
And they go to the Medusa Cascade, which is where the Daleks have taken all the planets, but
they're not
a step out of time. And but the Doctor just goes there to give up. There's actually a pretty good scene with him and Donna's like, nah, you can't just give up like that. And the Doctor's like, well, what am I going to do? Just came here to die, basically.
Yeah. There's nothing here. And then,
it does look really cool. I liked how they sort of did the Medusa Cascade.
Yeah, it looks like a...
Cascade? I don't know what a cascade
star nursery.
is. I don't know what that is. But
which is like a gaseous cloud where gas kind of smashes together and then forms into stars. Kind of like a There's another word for it, but I'm forgetting it right now.
Cascade.
Cascade.
I'm guessing cascade is like a actual term for something out there. I don't know what though.
Yeah, neither do I actually. I've never heard that term in reference to like a astronomical object. Anyway, the Doctor. They basically activate the Doctor bat signal on Earth through the combined powers of us. We're gonna call the Doctor. So Martha's got the phone with the phone with the Doctor's phone number.
Again,
Sarah Jane's computer can hook up all of the phones in the world to one system, and then they're gonna boost the signal through the time rift in Cardiff through Torchwood.
They're all playing their part here again,
except for Rose, who just has to watch.
Yeah, it's a Russell T. written finale with a collectivist rhetoric, as we saw in the stuff with the Master, Sound of Drums, Last of the Time Lords, and
but even more so than all of those, because we see basically every companion of the Doctor who's appeared in the reboot in this story working together, and Dalek Khan refers to them as the children of time.
Sure, I wouldn't say more so. I'd just say like in a different way, because in the last season they just like Dragon Ball Z style spirit bomb the Doctor back into existence, but whatever.
Yeah, but that was hilarious.
I thought it was good. I didn't think it was funny or anything.
It made sense in the story, but like when you say it just spirit bombed the Doctor back into existence, like when you put it like that.
Well, the spirit bomb from Dragon Ball Z is this like ultimate attack that harnesses like the energy of all living things on Earth. It's like, and it's how like that's the like last attack in Dragon Ball Z.
Wow. It sounds really overpowered. Sounds like how in Yu-Gi-Oh! They keep introducing more OP cards to get them out of the situations they write themselves into, and then when they introduce them to the real-life card series, they're just completely broken because they're so powerful.
That's why that game is completely broken. It really is.
Because they just use cards as like get-out-of-jail-free cards when they write themselves into corners on the show, and then they introduce them to the real life.
That's also like a result of the anime show preceding the actual card game. Like the show was created first. Yeah. Which is a questionable decision, like a show for a card game that doesn't exist, but whatever.
Whatever. So then the Doctor hears the bat signal because the phone rings, and he follows it to Earth. And then Harriet Jones, rest in peace, Harriet Jones has a pretty
Jones
awesome
actually
death.
Dies. I thought they were gonna get out of jail free Harriet Jones here, but no, she actually dies.
Yeah, the Daleks break down her door, and she just turns to them and goes, Harriet Jones.
Break down her door? That's an understatement of the century. They bust in through the like they just break the wall.
Harriet Jones turns to them as like, Harriet Jones, former Prime Minister, and they're like, we know who you are.
Well, yeah, that's part of like the running joke of when Harriet contacts all the people she contacts, are like, yeah, we know who you are. She introduces herself.
Yeah, because she's been introducing herself like that since she was introduced, because she started with Harriet Jones, MP for Flydale North, and then it was Harriet Jones, Prime Minister, and now it's Harriet Jones, former Prime Minister. And Wilf's like, I voted for her, and Sylvia's like, no, you didn't.
Did Wilf vote for her? That's the real. That's the real.
Doesn't matter.
Biggest mystery of this story.
But yeah, the Daleks like confront her, and she's like, you guys won't win because we humans have emotions and you guys don't. And Daleks are like, yeah, right. And they just blast her. And I guess Jack, Martha, Rose, and Sarah Jane just watch Harriet get blasted through the screen.
But like, what could they have done?
Nothing, but I'm saying that's kind of like devastating to just watch her get blasted when they can't do anything. Like, in fact, the fact that they can't do anything would almost make it worse for them to watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she transfers control of the subwave network to Torchwood, and then they contact the Doctor when the Doctor shows up.
Yep.
And then Rose is like, hey, it's the Doctor. It's me, Rose. Look at me, Doctor. And the Doctor's like, hey, guys, what is going on?
They have a slow motion scene where they run through the streets towards each other.
Later on, though. We're not there yet. Because the Doctor's still talking to them on the subwave network, and then this is when Davros reveals himself.
Davros reveals himself.
Because he learns about the subwave network, and he sends a signal of his own into the subwave network, and then Sarah Jane's like, no, it can't be. Because Sarah Jane's encountered Davros before.
Yeah, and Sarah Jane, again, is really devastated at, learning that Davros is there.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Sladen does a really good job of it, too.
Well, she was always, like, a good actress, especially alongside Tom Doesn't Really Act Baker. Tom, sure. I just play myself as the Dr. Baker.
I just thought she did quite a good job of being more scared than everyone else because she knows of the
Well,
threat
Jack
of
knows the
Davros.
Daleks. Jack knows
But
the Daleks too. And when the Daleks are introduced, Jack just basically goes, "There's nothing I can do. Sorry, guys," and then just hugs Ianto and Gwen. Is like, "Sorry, I can't do anything. It's the Daleks." And they're like, "Who's the Daleks?" And he's like, "We're just dead."
yeah, Jack doesn't know Davros, which is
No.
yeah. So
Yeah, no, but Jack knows the Daleks though. So when the Daleks first show up, I think he does a pretty good job of being
yeah,
terrified.
yeah. So do I.
Martha definitely does the least. She's kind of just unfazed by it. But
Well, Martha is kind of hardened now at this point.
yeah, because she
I think
fought the
that's a good
Sontarans and everything. Yes,
that's
Martha's
a
the
good
most
part of her
hardened of all of them.
character,
Because
actually.
even surprising because Jack spent like hundreds of years on Earth without his teleporter, living through World War One and Two.
And like dying repeatedly, probably.
Yeah, because he got shot by that guy in the bar, and that's how he found out that he
Yeah.
was immortal.
He also gets incinerated and revived in this episode.
Yeah, and blasted by a Dalek and revived.
So I mean, he can still feel pain, right? But he
Yeah, I
just
think
can't
so.
die. So that's brutal.
Does he feel the pain of death? Oh God! Oh God!
Yeah, there's actually a lot like with Jack as like this immortal guy who can still feel pain and stuff that they never really get into in the show.
Well, I feel like it's probably too dark for Doctor Who, but I feel like they go into that on Torchwood because Torchwood is a
Probably.
much darker show than Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, we brought up like the strength of the acting and whatever, and I think that's something we're going to talk about like when we look back on this season and sort of the Russell T era and reboot of the show from 2005 2008 in general,
Right.
because it's real easy to say like, oh yeah, they're bringing back Doctor Who, of course it's going to succeed, but if that first season wasn't good, if it wasn't well received,
oh yeah,
could have
for
easily
sure.
just like gone south. And I think the acting is a big part of why people actually took to the 2005 show. But we'll talk about that at the
get
end.
there. Then the Doctor lands because he hears Davros' message about how it's a new Dalek Empire and they basically won. They've basically won already, and the Doctor's like, "Damn, you're right." So he lands.
And Davros tells the Doctor how he basically brought back the Dalek race, as someone tends to do every time the Daleks come back. There's usually just like one left that rebuilds everything. But Davros sort of pulls off, or he reveals that he's used his own body.
Well, he reveals that later when the Doctor's on the spaceship.
All right, yeah, whatever.
Because he shows the Doctor how he did it. But we do meet Dalek Khan at some point, who's apparently gone insane. The Supreme Dalek is like, "That is a fool. We do not trust him." And Davros is like, "You have to."
Yeah, we haven't mentioned the Supreme Dalek, who's like twice the height of other Daleks.
Yeah, he's like kind of running the
Dalek,
show.
more like Tal-Ek. He's running the show. It's contestable whether he or Davros is really in charge, but it's probably him.
It's him because the Doctor even makes mention of this later when he gets thrown in the vault, that Davros is in the vault, which means the Supreme Dalek's in control because Davros is just locked away.
Yeah, so this is sort of a reversal now. The Daleks are keeping Davros as their own sort of pet. I think the
I mean,
Doctor
we've had
calls
this
him.
in the classic show too, when they had the whole like war between. There was
Oh,
like the
yeah,
whole
I
civil
guess.
war between the Daleks. The one side
Yeah,
like just
Destiny
kept
of the
Davros
Daleks,
as
I
like
think, was the one with the Mavellans, right?
yeah, which and then also the war with the Mavellans, where they just kept Davros as like a pet to help them win the war, but like he didn't actually control them.
Yeah, I guess.
Davros like totally lost control of his Daleks after Genesis of the Daleks. Really,
He reveals that he used his own body to revive the Daleks, so he's like a rotting hunk of flesh now.
yeah. Well, we should talk
More
about
so than he ever was, really.
we should talk about the cliffhanger to the first episode first, which is where the Doctor and Rose are running towards each other, and just Rose messing everything up again because the Doctor's running towards her. He doesn't see this Dalek that just shoots him straight through the heart and kills him.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not going to pin this on Rose. There are other bigger things I'm going to pin on Rose in this story.
Yeah, well, so episode 2 begins, well, episode 1 ends with the Doctor regenerating, and episode 2 begins with the Doctor regenerating into himself because he channels all the energy into his hand.
Yep.
It's unclear
Interesting.
at this point whether or not this actually counts as a regeneration, but in about the middle of the Stephen Moffat era, when the 11th Doctor is regenerating, he confirms that, yeah, it did actually count as a regeneration.
Well, I mean, I'm not there yet, obviously, and, in saying that, you're also really... I'll have to see what happens, but you're really, like, putting faith in, like, yeah, what the people who created this show says is, like, not canon, but, like, is valid, and that, like, we should
Stephen
really
Moffat
respect...
confirms it in the episode he writes is what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, so that's a different story, I guess. But just based on this, I would say no, it's not a regeneration because of what the doctor says, where he's like, yeah, I used the regeneration energy to revive myself, and then didn't need to go through with the full process.
Yeah, based on what he says in this story, I assumed it wasn't a regeneration too. So it wasn't until the 11th Doctor's regeneration where he was like, yeah, that counted, by the way, Clara. And she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, so I have no regenerations left, Clara. I mean, really, Stephen Moffat just makes it count because he wants a dramatic end to the 11th Doctor's run where he has no regenerations left of his original cycle, and then they need to find some way to help him regenerate again. So, I mean, because you can easily just wipe it away like they do in this episode with Doc's like, yeah, I just channeled the energy into the hand, didn't actually regenerate, so we're all good.
Yeah, I mean, but this whole thing is also just a way to set up what happens with Donna, too.
Yeah.
So that's all right. That part of it is all right, I guess.
I mean, it's also a way to set up what happens with Rose at the end, getting her own.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
anyway.
It is, now that you mention it. Man.
Yeah, Russell T was like, yeah, I've had the idea of Rose getting her own doctor since
Rose.
Since the very first episode of the 10th Doctor showed up, the Christmas invasion, and he gets his hand lopped off. He was like, I've had the idea ever since then, and it finally was able to be worked into a story in this one. Yeah. Anyway.
How to erase all consequences from your show.
Well, they get taken up to the spaceship. The TARDIS gets taken up, and there's some other people made it to the TARDIS before it gets taken up. So Jack also makes it, as does Rose. So it's the Doctor, Rose, Jack, and Donna in the TARDIS. We forgot
to mention everything Jackie and Mickey have been up to.
Well, because they only arrive now in the second episode. They only arrive now to kill the Dalek that's threatening Sarah Jane.
They didn't show up in the first
No, they didn't show up in the first episode at all. They show up right at the beginning of the second episode. They kill the Daleks that are threatening Sarah Jane because she's driving.
Oh, yeah. Sarah Jane goes out to find the Doctor.
Yeah.
But doesn't.
And Martha teleports to Germany to go use the Osterhagen key.
Yeah. She uses Project Indigo as like, tap into her mind where she really wanted to be right now.
Germany.
The woods in Germany.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, Jackie and Mickey show up. Awesome as usual.
Yeah, they just
far better remnants of Series 1 than Rose is at this point.
Man, Mickey's awesome in this story. I love him. Mickey's character development is seriously one of the best aspects of the reboot.
Mickey has always been one of the best characters of the new series, and this only continues that. Even, I would say Jackie is also one of the best characters of the new series.
Yeah, Jackie really grew on me. She was like really grating to me when she was introduced, but she's really grown on me since then.
I mean, yeah, that's like a pretty typical and standard way to get someone to like a character, is like have them be kind of annoying. Mm-hmm. Not too annoying, but kind of annoying when they start out. And then
the same with Mickey. Mickey was like really whiny and
yeah, I mean, I remember in Rose, I was like, wow, they're really annoying. But yeah, at this point, I mean,
same with Donna. Donna's one of the best characters too.
Yeah, Donna is the best companion of
the reboot.
So far, at least.
Yeah, so far. She's definitely like my favorite of the Russell T era, like by a long shot.
Yeah, same.
And I still love Wilf. Poor Wilf.
Yeah, Wilf kind of gets screwed too.
Oh, we're not done with Wilf. We are not done with Wilf. I don't want to spoil anything, but we are not done with Wilf.
How much more can they torture this innocent old man?
Just you wait. Just you wait.
Honestly, I mean, just knowing that, I kind of wish they would just leave all these characters behind, and with the Stephen Moffat era, just start new, start fresh with new recurring characters.
With Stephen Moffat just wipes the slate clean and doesn't bring back anyone from the Russell T era. But we still got 4 episodes of Russell T left. Okay. Just you wait.
Anyway, the Doctor and Donna are imprisoned in these sort of energy chamber things.
Donna's not contained, actually.
Oh, right, yeah, Donna's still in the TARDIS, actually.
The TARDIS is dead because they put like a time barrier around it. And, they write out the 2 other Torchwood characters by there being a time lock on Torchwood. So if they break it, the Daleks will kill them. But if they don't, they have to stay stuck inside. Apparently one of the other members of Torchwood, who's dead now, dies on the show, I guess, was setting it up, and they weren't sure if she had completed it before she died, but apparently she did.
Yeah, there's a scene later where they kill a Dalek, and they're like, well, there goes the time lock, and they don't really do anything with that.
I mean, it's just a way to write out Ianto and Gwen, really.
Sure. kind of K9-esque, I guess. K9 does appear in this story in the same but in the same capacity that he always appears. They just pull him out of the
Show up at the
closet.
end to
They,
win.
they just pull him out of the closet, dust him off when they need him as a weapon.
It's
and then
basically
shove him back
break
in.
glass to win.
So the Doctor tries to unleash his ultimate weapon at this point on Davros, which is just asking him to stop. And it doesn't work.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, because it's Davros and he's insane.
Surprisingly, because it's always worked. And this entire season has just been leading up to the Doctor just like being, wait, everyone just stop. Just hold your horses. Just hold on. And here it doesn't work.
Well, Donna gets trapped in the TARDIS because the door closes, and the Doctor's like, I didn't do that. What's going on? Who closed the door? And Davros is like, well, it's not me, but we're just going to incinerate the TARDIS.
The Supreme Dalek also is like, this isn't our doing.
The Dalek Khan is cackling over in the corner.
We didn't actually mention that Dalek Khan is like partially destroyed. He's Dalek
exposed.
casing is broken on top. The collet inside is
don't
exposed and it looks mutated.
I don't remember exactly when they explained this, but apparently Dalek Khan's emergency temporal shift in Daleks of Manhattan, I guess, somehow accidentally launched him through the time lock into the Time War, and he pulled Davros out of the Time War from when he dies in the Time War, and apparently in doing so, Dalek Khan like saw the entire timeline and all its infinite variations, and it drove him insane. Kind of like the Master, now that I think about it.
And he also saw all the atrocities committed by the Daleks.
Yeah, but we don't find that out until later when Dalek Khan reveals that basically everything in this story is due to him, including the Doctor and Donna getting together, because the Doctor, there's been this thread that they introduced, like, I think in Turn Left, or maybe even earlier, that the Doctor and Donna have been drawn together by some cosmic force.
Yeah, I mean,
And it's revealed in this story to have been Dalek Khan, who foresaw everything in this story, basically.
Well, that goes back to Runaway Bride, too, with
Yeah.
Donna showing up in the TARDIS and stuff.
Yeah. So they decide to incinerate the TARDIS, the Daleks anyway, because the defenses are down, so it can just get destroyed. And Donna keeps hearing this heartbeat coming from the hand, so she touches it, and it creates like a new copy of the Doctor, and he's like, wow, interesting. Apparently this is like a meta crisis, so it took like DNA from Donna and generated a new body from the regeneration energy that was stuck in the hand.
Yeah. Also, as we find out in just a couple minutes, channeling that energy into Donna, causing her to become part Time Lord.
Yeah, but we don't find that out just yet. So
Yeah,
the Doctor and Donna, like...
The new Doctor is also part human because he runs around for a little bit and then feels his heartbeat, and there's only one heart.
Right.
And
so you see the TARDIS dematerialize in the reactor, but the Doctor and Rose and Jack think it's dead. And then the Daleks shoot Jack and he dies, and Rose thinks he's dead. And then I was like, oh yeah, Rose never found out that Jack is immortal.
Yeah, because that was only introduced in Series 3.
So the Doctor and Rose then get taken down to the vault where they get captured. Sarah Jane, Jackie, and Mickey get captured by the Daleks intentionally to get taken up to the Crucible, the ship, because there's no other way up to the ship because the teleporters that Mickey and Jackie have take 30 minutes to recharge.
Yes, but they could have just like, I don't know, I think this is what Mickey wanted to do. He's like, hey, we can just wait 30 minutes and get up there, and Jackie's like, no, we gotta go now.
No, it's not Jackie, it's Sarah Jane.
It's Sarah Jane, but then Jackie also follows Sarah Jane's lead, where she follows Sarah Jane's lead, even though she and Mickey could have stayed hidden.
Yeah.
Which is all right, because we get the scene where the Daleks test their reality bomb.
Which apparently these 27 planets are perfectly designed and aligned and balanced to basically generate like an almost infinite amount of energy that they channel through the Crucible to basically, they can just wipe out whatever they want from the universe.
Yeah, Davros has some technobabble explanation.
We see a pretty cool scene where like all this energy is drawn from the planets. It's getting drawn from the planets into the Crucible, and then we get a less cool scene where a bunch of people just vaporize.
It looked pretty good, I thought. I thought the special effects in this were actually really good.
Yeah,
compared to...
It seemed like they were going for the really low-budget containment field thing, which is just a spotlight over their head, but then like the Doctor touches it, and they have a little CG like ripple across this actual cone that they're contained in, so it made the spotlight above the head a lot more believable.
Even the scene where the bullets get frozen is pretty good.
When Gwen and Ianto are shooting the Daleks and the bullets get frozen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not perfect, but it's good.
Yeah.
Journey's End is the longest episode of the reboot aired to this date, except I think Voyage of the Damned, so fun fact.
It's interesting.
And then, so we get 3 different competing plans to stop the Daleks now, because Jack ends up finding Sarah Jane, Mickey, and Jackie, and he has some fun banter with Mickey, which I really liked, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, man, I travel through all these tunnels, and who do I find? Mickey Mouse. Mickey's like, yeah, well, don't get too haughty. Like, I don't remember what Mickey calls Jack.
And
but then they're hugging, they're like, good to see you.
He has some good stuff with Sarah Jane, too. He's like, finally get to meet you and whatever and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
the captain salutes Harriet Jones before she's going to die, because the captain's a military officer, and that's what you do.
The banter with Jack has always been, like, pretty good.
Yeah, no, Jack's a really fun character, and actually makes me, like, really excited to watch Torchwood, because I want more Jack.
Sure. And Davros, at some point, I think it's now, confronts the Doctor, and he and the Doctor have a discussion, as they usually do. And as is also usual, it's about how the Doctor is kind of like Davros.
Yeah, well, so first we should explain all these competing plans to stop the Daleks. Martha's going to use the Osterhagen key,
which is revealed to be this
system of 23 strategically placed nukes underneath the Earth's crust, and if they activate them, it'll rip the Earth apart.
Yeah, which will stop the Daleks' plan by...
And the Doctor's like, why would you do that? Who came up with that idea? Apparently there's
someone
5.
Named Osterhagen, he says, apparently. And this will stop the Daleks' plan by knocking one of their planets out of alignment.
Well, yeah, because they won't have Earth anymore.
Yeah.
There's apparently 5 Osterhagen stations, but you only need 3 to activate the system, apparently.
Yep.
Which is good planning on their part, to be honest.
And the Sarah Jane also has this necklace, which is...
It's a warp star.
Yeah, it's a warp star. It's an explosion contained in like a little
diamond.
Jewel. And they can also use that to wipe out the Daleks.
Yeah, Jack is going to use it to blow up the Dalek spaceship. And then there's the clone Doctor, who comes up with this plan to feed back because the Daleks are going to use the reality bomb to wipe out everything in the universe except for Daleks, and the Doctor is going to feedback loop it so it kills all the Daleks instead of everything else.
Yeah.
But they don't know that until the TARDIS lands on the spaceship, and then the Doctor's like, wait, what the hell? And then another Doctor comes running out and just does like a suicide charge towards Davros with the gun. Donna's like, why would you do that? Because he just gets zapped and then contained.
Yeah, I think this is the human side of the Doctor sort of infecting him here.
And then Donna runs out and she also gets zapped. Except they don't put her in a containment field because it looks like she gets knocked out, but...
Yeah, but it turns out that she's not. She gets up and
she's
starts
about to do
running
something, but
crazily.
first we find out that the Daleks have T-Mat because they T-Mat Martha and Sarah Jane, Mickey, Jack, and Jackie all into the vault.
Yeah, so they're all there now. They all have this sort of battle. Mickey is actually the one who confronts Davros in this, which is weird. I would have preferred if it were Sarah Jane, but it was all right.
Well, they do have a moment of recognition between Davros and Sarah Jane where Davros is like, you were there at the beginning, weren't you? She's like, yeah, I know you.
Yeah, he's like, it's all come full circle.
Yeah, so this discussion between the Doctor and Davros, I mean, what are we thinking about it? Because Davros basically says, yeah, look, because Dalek Khan earlier said the Doctor's soul is going to be revealed and then one of the children of time will die. And basically Davros is like, yeah, the Doctor's soul is revealed. The Doctor is someone who abhors violence and never carries a gun, but he turns his companions into weapons who do carry guns and use violence to stop things.
Well, it's something that was never really touched on in the classic show at all. And, that's also one thing that this episode really highlights about the new series is that, one, it explores, like, what the consequences of traveling with the Doctor, but also, like, with Donna being like, hey, I was planning on traveling with you, as long as I possibly could.
Right.
And I was trying to think, were there any companions like that in the classic series?
Adric.
I mean, maybe. Well, Adric didn't have anywhere to go back to because he had like the...
Turlo was kind of like that until he found out that he'd been pardoned and his planet wanted him back.
Yeah, or I don't know if there are any, because all the other ones wanted to leave at some point.
I mean, Susan.
I'll say Susan, all right.
Susan wanted to travel with her grandfather forever, and the Doctor just locked her out of the TARDIS. Is like, hey, look, I know you're in love with David, and you can't travel with me forever.
David. How could I have forgotten his name?
You gotta go out and make your own way in the world, and this is what's best for you, Susan. I'll come back eventually. Completely forgets about her, never goes back. And I guess Ace kind of,
well, we don't really get Ace
but we don't really
on
know.
the show itself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I don't think it's something that they really touch on in this episode. They bring it up here more blatantly than they ever have before, but they just sort of, again, bring it up that the
They
Doctor
bring it
turns
up
these
again
people
at
into
the end of the
weapons.
episode, though. With the thing you were talking about with with the companions wanting to travel with the Doctor forever. I mean, they bring it up again with Rose, and she was like, "I want to travel with you forever, but I'm going to age and die, and you're not."
The only thing the Doctor says in response to Davros here is that they're trying to help,
Yeah.
which is interesting because it's kind of it's a lame comeback, but like he has a point, right? Like if it's Davros and the Daleks who instigated all of this, and
I mean,
the Doctor and the companions wouldn't be in this situation if Davros
it's
and the
only a
Daleks
lame comeback
didn't.
because it's not a comeback. It's an acknowledgement that Davros is right. It's the Doctor saying, "Yeah, you're right. I turned them into weapons, but they're trying to help." I mean, that's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not designed to be like refutal of Davros's point. Like, no, they're not weapons. It's more of a, yeah, you're right. They are weapons, but they're trying to help.
sure, yeah, which is interesting. I mean, it's a TV show, right? It's a long running format, so they have plenty of room to expand on this, which I feel they really don't in this episode, which is fine. There's more to cover.
Fine.
There's like 20 minutes left at this point, and there's still a lot more to cover.
I don't think they need to either because it's always been unclear what the Doctor does to his companions, and it's generally accepted that he makes them better people, right? Like, Nyssa goes off to basically help a hospital ship full of plague people. Romana stays in East Space to help liberate planets that are being subjugated.
But that's something that I like about the new series is that like in the classic show, it's like they just come out of these travels like pretty unequivocally.
Not always, though.
Not always. Like,
because Tegan leaves because there's too much violence and she doesn't want to deal with it anymore. You can't say Tegan becomes a better person because of it.
But does she become worse? Like, is she turned into like a weapon? No, there's like not really.
Well, she leaves because she could see herself becoming worse because she said she's becoming desensitized to all this violence and that's not okay, and that's why she leaves.
Sure, maybe that's the one case, but like other than that, are there really any repercussions? Do they really get into like the consequences of what?
I mean, Stephen becomes a king.
Yeah, but like that's not. I don't even think that's comparable to what's going on here.
I guess. I mean, Katerina dies. That's pretty unequivocally worse.
And also again, like they don't really even.
Adric dies.
They don't acknowledge like any of this stuff. They don't go back to characters. They like maybe just have a one-off line about them at some point, but like that's it.
Because I think the classic series was like a lot more haphazard and serialized from week to week, and there was never really any through thread between all of it.
Yeah, that's definitely why. But at the same time, that's why I like what they're doing with the new series.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
And it's why I think the new series is succeeding in a lot of ways that the classic show didn't. And again, this show wouldn't have survived on the name recognition alone. I mean, or more than that, it wouldn't have survived on being Doctor Who alone.
It needed something special.
It needed to be good.
Yeah, it needed to be good. That too.
Which it is, And
yeah.
I think overall, this first era of the new show is like really good, actually.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. I mean, I also have a lot of nostalgia for it because it was the first Doctor Who I watched, but I think it's
nostalgia
really
for like
good.
Stuff that happened 6-7 years ago.
You can have nostalgia for things that happened yesterday, in my opinion. Anyway, let's finish describing the plot of the story.
It's a lot harder to have nostalgia for things that happened yesterday.
Harder, but not impossible. Donna basically just stops the Daleks from detonating the reality bomb by just flipping a couple switches, and apparently the shock from Davros activated the Time Lord part of her brain that she got when she touched the hand.
Right, but you're really underselling like this because it's awesome seeing, and this is why I guess I'll just say it. I don't know if I'm gonna keep thinking this as time goes on, but David Tennant is basically now my favorite Doctor because mostly, not solely, but like mostly because of how he plays the Doctor, and like he's probably the best actor to have played the Doctor like ever.
Until this point, I mean, in my opinion, Peter Capaldi is by far the best actor who's ever played the Doctor. Like, it's not even close, in my opinion.
All right, well, at this point, I think David Tennant is, of the 10 so far, the best one.
Right. I mean, I definitely agree. David Tennant was my favorite Doctor for a long time because of this, because he plays a lot of things as the Doctor, like, really well. Like the rage and the anger, but also, but also, like...
I'm going to miss that well that he usually does.
I don't know. He just brings a lot of things to the role that I think we're definitely going to be talking about a lot more when we get to his write out in 4 weeks for us, and we do a retrospective for him.
And this scene also with Donna sort of having absorbed the Doctor also, Catherine Tate here actually also does a really great job. And this is, again, the acting here is one thing that solidifies Donna as one of the best companions in a long time. I think if you think of like the classic shows going straight into the new series.
Well, because I think Donna is the companion who is like the most. She's the one who challenges the Doctor most on his beliefs and who drives him to be a better person, and he drives her to be a better person. And they touch on this later at the end of the story when Donna leaves, because Wilf was like, she was better with you. And Sylvia's like, no, don't say that. Wilf's like, but she was. It's like unequivocally true. She was.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing too. Like
the Doctor's devastated when Donna leaves.
But like even just in that small scene, they're going more into the, maybe some of the, I don't know if positive repercussions is like, because repercussions are typically thought of as negative, but they're going into like the benefits, I guess, of traveling with the Doctor in a much like more interesting capacity than the classic show. Because the classic show would often be like with Nyssa or someone like, yeah, she goes off to be a doctor, or like Romana. But like here they're going like, well, yeah, she kind of sucked before she met the Doctor, but like now she became a better person, and like getting mind wiped and stuff erases all of that.
Spoilers. Well, I think because they're doing it in a much more nuanced way. They're actually taking I think they're taking the characters' personalities before they join the Doctor and like basing what they leave or how they develop with the Doctor based on that. Whereas in the classic show, it was always like, oh, they had these personalities, but that never actually played into what they. Yeah, that never actually like played into what they were. Like Rose, like comes out of. If we look at just at series 1, comes out of it like a pretty good person, but think of how she was at the start. She was like a bratty teenager who lived with her mom and basically like always mouthed off to her mom, basically never appreciated anything she did
basically the exact same person she was in the final 5 minutes of this.
Yeah, no, but yeah, so, but what I'm saying is like they've developed her as a character from that. She like got a better relationship with her mom.
I agree with everything you're saying. I just don't agree with the idea that that's more nuanced, because I don't think it's more nuanced. I think it's just there. Like, I think it's just present, whereas it was never present in the classic show.
Okay, that's fair. And then, like, Donna, like, we're going to talk more about Donna in just a second, but, like, Donna was, like, kind of a really irritating, kind of bad person in The Runaway Bride. And, like, even... I said it to a lesser extent, but you said it like in The Runaway Bride, like Donna kind of sucks.
Yeah, again, I mean, we mentioned it before, but she was kind of like Mickey and Jackie, right? She wasn't like necessarily, a bad person or whatever, but she was, annoying.
Yeah. But anyway, Donna stops the Daleks, and then the clone doctor, they're leaving, and the clone doctor realizes that the Dalek Empire is just going to keep expanding anyway because it's big enough to kill everyone. Because they send all the planets back, and then the clone doctor just kills all the Daleks.
Yeah.
Just by flipping a couple switches.
Yep.
And then the real doctor's like, that's not okay, man. Dude. And then apparently they didn't have enough energy to send Earth back, so they have to pilot Earth back. And this is when it's revealed the reason why the Doctor kind of sucks at piloting the TARDIS is because the TARDIS was designed to be piloted by 6 people, which also retroactively
850
explains...
episodes in, just introduce this.
750, actually. This is the 750th story out, apparently.
Huh. Wow.
But... 750th episode, not story.
Yeah.
But it also kind of retroactively explains...
We'll be dead by the time they get to that point.
Kind of retroactively explains why the original TARDIS console was a hexagon.
Yeah, it does.
Because it's supposed to be 6 people.
I mean, I like stuff like that. Stuff that was, it's a hexagon because of, what they had to work with, when they made it. But
later on, they
incorporating it into the story. I like that.
Yeah. And so the 6 people who pilot this TARDIS are Mickey, Jack, Rose, Martha, and Sarah Jane, and the clone doctor. And the doctor just looks at Jackie and he's like, yeah, Jackie, just don't touch anything. And Donna just also watches.
Right.
So they basically just tow the planet back to Earth. And now we get basically greatest hits of Russell T conclusion, where Russell T gives everybody their happy ending, except for the one character who deserved it most. So Sarah Jane lands... Oh yeah, K9, We forgot to mention how K9 helps, but he transfers the codes to the TARDIS, like, at the end
Yeah,
here to help
we did
the
mention
TARDIS
how he helps
tow.
because we mentioned that, like the classic show, they just pull him out of the closet, use him for 2 seconds, and throw him back in.
Well, because apparently it was going to take like 2 hours to transfer the codes to Mr. Smith from the TARDIS, but then Sarah Jane's like, oh, K9 has the codes. He can just transfer them straight into Mr. Smith immediately. Because they needed the codes to like hook the TARDIS into the time rift, which Ianto and Gwen basically cede control over that to the TARDIS in this instance, so the TARDIS can tow the Earth from the time rift, basically.
Yeah. We get scenes of people cheering as the Earth gets towed back into position.
Yeah, and then there's fireworks and celebrations when they're back home, like, Earth has returned home. I want to know who plays that reporter that appears in literally every news segment on Doctor Who. I mean, I really appreciate that they got like a consistent news reporter and didn't get a new one like every week, because like in real life, you're going to have the same news reporter for years and years and years, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even notice, but I guess it's a nice touch.
But anyway,
They
so...
go to Bad Wolf Bay.
Well, okay, no, first we're going to explain to everybody else. Sarah Jane lands, and she's really happy to be home. And she doesn't know if she'll ever see the Doctor again, but she thanks him for everything. And she's got to go home to her son and tell him all the
Spoiler,
stories.
she won't.
She does.
I think.
In the Sarah Jane adventures. With Joe Grant, I might add. Joe Grant shows up in the Sarah Jane adventures.
I knew that somehow.
And then the Doctor drops off Jack and Martha and breaks Jack's teleport again, because we want to mention Jack fixes his teleport using the teleporter code from Project Indigo.
Yep.
But now the Doctor breaks it again. Because that's how Jack found the Doctor, because he used the teleporter bracelet.
Yeah, the Doctor uses the sonic screwdriver to do this, and I was surprised, just being a Russell T. written finale, how little it's used. But
yeah, it was the first time it shows up in the story, except for one other time.
Yeah.
And Sarah Jane uses sonic lipstick to open a door, and that's it.
That's fine, though.
And then so Jack and Martha go off hand in hand, I guess.
Mickey goes off with them because he reveals that, his grandma already died in the parallel universe.
And also there's no life for him with Rose now because I think Mickey's figured out what's going on here before the Doctor's even said it.
Mickey knows.
I mean, Mickey was awesome in this story.
On.
Let's talk about Mickey for a second, because this is the last time he appears in the story. But Mickey shows up, kills these Daleks, basically escapes the Daleks on the spaceship, and he's just awesome. And he confronts Davros like face to face without any fear. He's just awesome.
Mickey's always been basically the best character of the reboot.
Yeah, I mean, just look at how far he's come though. Like when he started, he was just like
this pizza-loving guy,
a hapless, helpless pizza-loving dude,
pickling eggs in his free time.
And now he's traveling between universes, killing Daleks like a boss.
But he decides to come back to his original universe and just go off.
He runs off after Jack and Martha, I guess, to try either join Torchwood or Unit.
Yeah, you get the impression that he's going to join Torchwood and Unit, and you get the impression that Torchwood and Unit are going to have some sort of reconciliation based on what Jack says to Martha.
Yeah, because there's some dialogue that indicates that they're going to work together in the future, work closer together.
Yep.
And then Bad Wolf Bay. The Doctor takes them to Bad Wolf Bay in the parallel universe. Apparently the walls are closing, but...
I forgot that this was in Norway. Jackie just walks out of the TARDIS and she's like, here we are again in Norway.
She's like, now I'm going to have to call for a ride home again.
Wonder how high the taxi fare was from Norway to London. I mean, you need a taxi in like a ship or a plane.
So basically the Doctor gives Rose her own Doctor.
Yep.
He gives her the clone Doctor. He's like, look, he's too dangerous to be in our universe, so you can just take him. Even better, there's a deleted scene where the Doctor gives the clone Doctor a piece of his TARDIS so they can grow their own TARDIS in the alternate universe.
Damn. Rose really does make out like a bandit here.
Yeah, and Russell T said you can basically consider that scene canon. They only had to cut it because of time.
Well, look, it's not in the story, so I don't consider it as, I don't think it actually happened because, I go by what's in the story, not what the people who made it say.
But it was in the story till they ran out of time displaying it, so...
I don't buy that. But...
Oh yeah, and the Doctor reveals that the clone is going to age
the clone is going to age. This actually is just the final nail in this. The clone is going to age as a normal human thanks to his humanized...
everything.
Form. So, Rose is a dilemma that she faced in Series 2 and 1 to an extent is now completely solved. One, she gets to go to the parallel universe with the doctor.
Jackie and Pete.
Right.
And she gets her own doctor to fall in love with.
And who's going to age along with her.
She
all
doesn't...
the consequences of Series 2.
Her
And that's why...
Doomsday.
And that's why I was okay with that write out, right? Because there were actual consequences for Rose. One, she wasn't able to be with the doctor anymore. She got to have her dad back. That was fine. She went through a lot with like Pete and stuff. And she had to go to this parallel universe.
I mean, yeah, this is egregious, but I don't want to temper your expectations for the Stephen Moffat era. But if you don't like consequences being rewritten and taken away, you're not going to like a lot of the things Stephen Moffat does.
I mean, it depends. I think it depends how you do it, because you can, you can do any concept right. It's just like in the execution. I might regret saying that at some point, but this isn't that point.
I'm going to take that soundbite and just save it to my computer and I'm just going to slip it into episodes where Stephen Moffat rewrites consequences.
But yeah, here it's just a punch in the gut.
Well, okay, here's the thing. Because I do think it's egregious.
Especially what happened to Donna, like right now.
But, that's what I'm saying. But, I think if Donna had had a happy ending too, I wouldn't really have a problem with this. Because it would mean everybody gets a happy ending, they stop the Daleks, and at the end of the day, it's like a good ending for everything. But what makes this really egregious is that Rose has been here for 4 seasons now, just lurking in the shadows of the doctor's life. Just trying to be like...
Stalking the doctor.
She's like really possessive of the doctor, like to a scary extent, right?
Yeah.
She's like stalking the doctor across universes.
And I think what you're describing is Series 2 onward Rose. I think Series 1 Rose is actually pretty good.
No, absolutely. Series 1 Rose is like...
Which is why now, basically, I totally see what people mean. I didn't get it before now, really, but I totally see what people mean when they say, like, yeah, Rose should have been done with Series 1.
Yeah,
she should have. That's a very common thing to say.
They even could have gotten away with some of Series 2, but a lot of what they introduced in Series 2 is like really annoying, and also a lot of that is like leading up to what happens to her in Series 3 and 4. But what I'm saying is if Donna hadn't had such a devastating end, I would be more okay with this because it would mean like everybody got a happy ending, like I said. But no, Donna starts dying because of the Time Lord brain inside of her, and the Doctor has to wipe her mind to save her life.
Yep. So Donna forgets about all of her travels with the Doctor and all of the events of this story, basically.
This is one of the most devastating write-outs in all of Doctor Who.
And it's one of the best ones.
Because it's played so brilliantly by David Tennant and Catherine Tate and Bernard Cribbins, who plays Wilf. Like, all three, this wouldn't have worked if those three hadn't been basically perfectly on point.
Finally found out where that gif came from.
Of the one of the Doctor standing in the rain. But basically, he wipes her mind and he takes her home and he rings the doorbell. And this is the most heartbreaking part of this write-out is Wilf is like, she's home. He's like really happy because he really loves that Donna travels with the Doctor.
Yeah.
And then he opens the door and she's just lying on the floor and the Doctor's like, help me.
Well, right before this, he actually has this conversation with Sylvia. He's like, don't you get it? Why are you so blind to this? She's been traveling with the Doctor this entire time. She's been saving worlds.
And Sylvia's like, no, I refuse to accept it.
But I mean, eventually, this is also Sylvia's like turning point where she does accept it, where the Doctor comes in, wipes her mind, and explains like, hey, Donna actually helped save everyone in the universe on multiple occasions.
Yeah, he explains it to Wilf, and Wilf is like crying because he's like, she was better with you. And Sylvia's like, no, don't say that. And he's like, but she was. And then he's like crying, and the Doctor's like, if she ever remembers anything about me, then she'll basically die.
Yeah, so they can't tell her anything.
Yeah. And the Doctor is, you can tell the Doctor's like devastated by this.
Yep. The worst part about it is, though, is Donna finally wakes up and she comes in. She's like,
oh, yeah, this is another really
like,
heartbreaking
hi, Mom.
scene.
Hi, Grandpa. Who are you?
And he's like, oh, I'm John Smith. And she's like, okay, cool.
She goes off and just starts talking to her friend on the phone. Put some uncovered orange juice in the fridge. So, another thing that you should never really do. Always make sure you cover it up.
Yeah, just
like
life pro tips from Trashy Doctor.
Smelling like orange juice, which might not be a problem.
And then Sylvia's like, he was just leaving, and the Doctor leaves, and he goes, hey, Donna. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, I'll just be going now. And she's like, yeah, whatever, bye. And the Doctor goes out, and it's raining, and Wilf runs up, and he's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to be okay, Doctor? And he's like, yeah, I'll be fine. Except the way he says it, you totally know he won't be fine.
Tears in his eyes that you can tell are there despite the rain.
This is the start of the 10th Doctor's, like, torrential downward spiral to where he ends up when he dies.
Wow. All right. And Wilf tells the Doctor that every time he looks up at the stars, he'll remember the Doctor and how Donna was like a really cool person
And
who saved
important.
everyone.
And Wolf will think of the Doctor for her every time he looks at the stars every night, and the Doctor's like, "Thank you." And he's like crying in the
Gotta
rain.
wonder if Wilf is going to be able to withhold this info from Donna. I think he will, but yeah,
Wilf is the best. I love Wilf.
I think he will.
And then the Doctor goes into the TARDIS and dematerializes and leaves. Apparently, originally Russell T wanted to end the story on a cliffhanger, which they actually filmed, where the Doctor sees Cybermen still alive, and he's gonna go, "What? What? What?" Kind of like the Titanic. And then someone was like, "Yo, the story ended on like a really devastatingly sad note. You can't really put a cliffhanger like that after that."
Yeah, but they have this giant to be continued graphic thing.
And then they do put a preview of the Christmas special.
Yep. Which was fine, yeah, but I agree, because again, I didn't like when the Titanic just crashed in the TARDIS. So I agree with just ending it right there. I liked it.
They also filmed the Christmas special as part of the season, which is why they were able to put the preview into this story, because they'd already finished filming the story. Just wanted to throw that out there as kind of like a production note that I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, and
because this is like July, so they filmed this Christmas special like 6 months in advance.
Which, I mean, makes sense, film it when you're doing the rest of the season. And I think, just based on this preview, I didn't look this up, even though I probably should have, but I think they switched to HD at this point.
Almost. Next week's story, because it was filmed as part of this season, is the final story that was filmed in standard definition. So after this season's production block, they switched to HD. So because the Christmas special is part of this production block, it was filmed in standard def. But then the rest of the specials were filmed in HD.
Yeah, finally getting that glorious HD after years of first just jankiness.
First just like 380p, not even that maybe.
First just slides and audio.
And now we're up to, I don't know, 480p. But yeah, so finally.
Yeah, no, I mean, these are probably some big words, but I think this is the best write-out of Doctor Who for a companion.
This is some big words.
My other favorite one was Turlo, and I think this is better than that one.
I think this is, the best write-out in Doctor Who to this point. Because it's just, I mean, it's so devastating for everybody involved, first off. And second off, it's like really unique, I think.
Jamie and Zoe had their minds wiped, but not in this way.
But not by the Doctor having to do it himself.
And also, again, they didn't explore the repercussions of that because they didn't have a scene with Jamie and Zoe coming back and stuff.
Yeah, they didn't have a scene like where the Doctor says goodbye and then they just don't even recognize him.
Yeah.
Also in that story, the Doctor didn't even get to say goodbye to Jamie and Zoe because the Time Lords exile him and regenerate him.
Yep.
So,
and really, I think this is one of the. First of all, I think this is the best series of the reboot so far. Series 4 has definitely had that really great string with like Unicorn and the Wasp, Silence in the Library, all of those great ones. The season finale is really good.
I mean, it's my favorite series of the Russell T era, by far.
Definitely.
I think it was just a lot of really strong stories, and then especially the end, it basically ends on 6 straight strong stories because you go Silence in the Library, Forest of the Dead, Midnight, Turn Left, and then Stolen Earth and Journey's End, which is just 6 straight really strong stories.
And I think I'm going to say this is my favorite season of Doctor Who overall, more so than 17, more so than season 6, more so than series 1. Yeah, because it has a lot of the stories deal with like a lot of the like literary theory type stuff that I'm at least in some capacity into. So I liked that. And maybe this is just like I just watched it, so it's fresh in my mind, but
I mean,
I think
it's always something we're going to revisit at the end of every season, so we'll see if your ideas change over time, right?
Yeah, I guess, but as of right now, I'm saying it's the best. So,
I mean, for me, it's like up there with the Douglas Adams season.
Yeah, 17 was my previous, sort of favorite.
Series 6. 1 and 6, yeah. It's up there with Series 10 of the reboot, too, for me. Series 10 for me was I really liked that series, save for a couple of episodes in the middle. But, I mean, let's talk about Donna, because I think Donna, definitely the best companion of the reboot.
Yeah, and I think...
one of the best companions ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. And like we mentioned before, I know I keep coming back to this, but I think the acting is like what really sells this. David Tennant's... Seeing David Tennant's, just like the way he plays the Doctor, I know we're talking about Donna here, but I'm getting to her. Just the way he plays the Doctor, like, made him transition, I think, in my eyes, from I not really like caring for him to him like basically probably being my favorite or
Well, I
second
remember
favorite
when we
Doctor next
watched
to Tom
Christmas
Baker.
Invasion, you were like, "Oh man, this David Tennant like sucks. The 10th Doctor sucks."
I don't think I said sucks
But you were like, "Oh man, I really
explicitly.
hate like where they're taking the character. I really dislike it." But I mean, I think Donna's like integral to the Doctor's character development because the Doctor was like really mopey for all of series 2 because Rose left and Martha like wasn't really helping him, and Donna comes into his life as like this whirlwind who's like, "Look, I'm not gonna mate with you. I'm not gonna
Not gonna
kiss
put up
you.
with your shit, Doctor.
I'm not gonna put up with your shit, Doctor. Stop moping around. Get your ass out there and save the universe, you big oaf." And I think he really needed that. Like, and I think that dynamic is something that's like pretty unique. I think we've never really had someone just call the Doctor out on his like shit. I mean, even from Fires of Pompeii, when Donna was like, "You have to save at least one person. You can't just let all these people die." And the Doctor's like, "But I can't." And Donna's like, "You have to."
Even in what was it?
Runaway Bride?
No, the one where the Doctor tries to drop off Ian. And no one calls him on it.
Yeah. Like Reign of Terror, where,
it was
where he
Reign of
tries to kick
Terror.
them out of the TARDIS and it's like revolutionary France. But yeah, like no one like ever really called the Doctor out on it except like Mel kind of did it and she was like, "Dude, you can't like be that much of a jerk." Ace kind of called the Doctor out on when he was being like really mean to her and she was like, "Look, you can't do that to me." And the Doctor's like, "Look, I was just trying to save you."
Look,
And
this
Ace
is
is
all
like,
just part of
"Dude,
my plan that I never explained to
yeah,
you.
Ace, this was all part of my master plan I came up with 5 minutes ago and basically executed perfectly and killed
No,
everybody."
he came up with it like 5 years ago and forgot about it, remember?
Yeah, Ghostlight.
No, that wasn't Ghost. Or
No,
it
that
was
was
Curse of Fenric, I think.
Curse of Fenric. But like,
Ghostlight was the one where no one had any idea what was going on.
but part of the reason why I think Donna's so cool is because she really is like a good foil to the Doctor, especially the 10th Doctor. Like I think she also wouldn't have worked with a lot of the other Doctors.
She might have worked with the Ninth Doctor.
Maybe, and I could see her maybe working with the 3rd Doctor too. If I'm gonna be honest, like I could see her being like, "Dude, you're like an asshole." But like, she starts off as this really annoying character who yells a lot, who is terrified of a lot of things, but like is really kind of entitled. And by the end of it, she's like, there's a scene in this that we didn't mention where the clone Doctor's talking with Donna and he's like, "Wow, all of that bravado and yelling, that's just a cover because you really don't think you're special. You really don't think you're anything at all. You're just covering up for the fact that you just think you're really mediocre and normal like everyone else." And, I think that really kind of underpins a lot of Donna's character development.
I mean, earlier on in this episode, I talked about how, in a lot of ways, for me at least, the idea that like, yeah, humans have this thing that like, the Doctor could never have, it doesn't work a lot of the time. But I think this episode, in some ways, does that well because of the way they sort of make Donna special. They've been making her out to be a special character who's more important than your average human,
Right.
for this entire season. But like the way they do it isn't like some reveal that like she's an alien. I thought she was going to be like time like an alien or like
or
something. But like the way they do it is she like absorbs the Time Lord energy. So she was, I mean, just a regular person,
Right.
Until this event.
Yeah, and we didn't really mention that Dalek Khan was the one who orchestrated all these events.
We didn't bring.
But basically,
bring that up.
Dalek Khan saw the timelines and realized he manipulated things so that Donna and the Doctor would get together, and then he basically wanted to destroy the Daleks. He basically says he looked into the time vortex and declared no more because he saw all the things that the Daleks could and would do.
Yep, and have done.
And he basically orchestrated this whole plan with Davros and the Supreme Dalek and creating new Daleks to basically just wipe them out entirely at the end.
So I guess he got what he wanted.
Yeah. Dalek Khan comes out of it pretty good. But yeah, I don't know. I just really like Donna.
Yeah, good and dead. Yeah, I do think Donna is the strongest companion of the
Really gonna
series.
miss Donna.
Yeah, but seeing as Rose was pretty much ruined after her first series, well, then again, Martha was at least somewhat done well, to the extent that they ever did Martha well.
Yeah. And Martha's storyline in this was to get to Germany to threaten to use the Osterhagen key, and then after that she doesn't really do much.
Yeah, which is why she's cool in this. But I'm okay with this being Donna's last episode.
I think it really works as a series finale too. It ties basically every episode this season together.
Yep.
ties together Donna's plot like really well.
Like they initially did with Rose, there's consequences for the companion.
Yeah. And, we're going to get a string of stories here where Donna just travels alone. They even reference the Ood in...
You mean the Doctor?
Yeah, the Doctor travels alone. They even reference the Ood because the Ood called Donna the Doctor Donna, and the Doctor's like, oh, the Ood knew what was coming. They could tell that you were going to absorb...
Yeah, so some foreshadowing there was nice.
And, so we're going to get a string of stories where the Doctor travels alone, and then he dies. So... and then we're done with the Russell T era.
Yep. We'll move on to Stephen Moffat and the 11th Doctor.
Yeah. Pretty much, that's all of my thoughts on this episode. I didn't really have a lot. I didn't have many notes either except for lol clom, because the Doctor was like, who wants clom?
I'm just glad I finally got to find out where that gif comes from, the Doctor in the Rain.
Yeah, when I watched this the first time, I was like, yeah, now I know where that GIF comes from.
That's one of the most famous GIFs that people use as a reaction image, because people who don't even watch Doctor Who use that image all the time.
Yeah, because it's the Doctor standing, sadly, in the rain.
Yeah.
It's a good reaction image.
To the extent that reaction images can be described as good.
Yeah, fair. You used a pretty... good one last night when you texted me like, so Rose gets everything she wanted and Donna just gets completely screwed over. We'll just put that reaction image in the show notes.
But nobody checks them, so I'll just explain that it's Bill Nye saying, well, that's just bullshit.
And on that bombshell, you can email us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on Donna and her devastating ride-out. You can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable. You can find us on Apple Podcasts at Trust Your Doctor. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Like us on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also like us on Twitter at TYD Podcast, and follow us on Twitter. And next time we're watching The Next Doctor. But until then, the end.